Welcome to the American Railroading Podcast, brought to you by the Revolution Rail Group, live from the great state of Texas. Join us as we educate, entertain, and explore the world of American railroading. Here's your host, industry veteran, Don Walsh.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the American Railroading Podcast. I am your host, Don Walsh, President and CEO of the Revolution Rail Group. We are the anchor sponsor for the American Railroading Podcast. We're a consulting and brokering firm in the railcar industry, serving any kind of consulting, whether it's merger and acquisition consulting, process flow analysis, market analysis. We can help you with that. We can also help you with railcar leasing, buying, selling of railcars, and subleasing of railcars through our brokering services. You can reach out to us today at 844-455-3434 or info@therevolutionrailgroup.com. You can also check out our full suite of services on our website at therevolutionrailgroup.com. Well, summer is officially here, and in Houston, that means when we get a cold front, it's 85 degrees and 50% humidity. Whoop. Yeah, which we're going to be getting next weekend, I hope. Producer John?
I hope.
Yeah.
I'll take it right now.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. And then the 4th of July is right around the corner as well. So right after this airs, you'll be celebrating Independence Day with your friends and family. So please be careful. Keep all your fingers intact, but have a great time celebrating our country's independence. Thank you to all of you who still remain in the top 10% of all podcasts globally, which is amazing. That's a total blessing. That's all thanks to you. We've now been downloaded in 52 countries around the world. That went up from, I think it was 49 last episode. So we're now at 52 countries around the world. Downloaded on 36 different podcast platforms. Apple's number 1, Spotify's number 2. All-time downloads, U.S. is number 1, Canada's number 2, Australia's number 3. For the last month, the Netherlands is still in second place for 2 months in a row now, month to month. And now we've got the UK in third, Australia close behind in fourth. Hello to our friends in Italy, Austria, and Germany. Please continue to subscribe, download, and leave us reviews. So reviews really, really help us a bunch. So when you go out there and leave us a 5-star review, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on our website or any other podcast platform you may listen to us on. It helps get us further and further out on the interwebs, as they say, and the algorithms. So it gets us out there for more and more people to listen to us and to see us as well. So please continue to leave us reviews and to share. If you like what you heard on the podcast, you can buy us a cup of coffee. So if you go to our website, you'll see a little yellow coffee cup in the bottom left-hand corner of our website. You can click on that. You can buy us 1 cup, 3 cups, 5 cups, or however many cups of coffee you want. We like coffee. And it's like leaving us a little tip for doing a good job. So if you like what we're doing here on the podcast, you want to give us a little something for our efforts, you can buy us a cup of coffee. So thank you for those of you that have and those of you that will. Don't forget, we have our own YouTube channel as well. So if you like watching the videos versus just the audio, and we do have our new studio for those of you that haven't watched in a little while, and we keep upgrading it and changing things as we're going on. You'll see some new stuff in the studio as well. We've got new microphones. We've got a 4K camera looking at us. So lots of color, brings out my eyes, I think, a little bit.
It does.
And the gray. That's okay. I'm seasoned now. You can check us out at our YouTube channel at YouTube at American Railroading Podcast. Again, that's YouTube at American Railroading Podcast. And our subscriptions continue to go up, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But thank you guys for sharing and subscribing. Please go to our online store as well. We do have an online store. You can go to our website at AmericanRailroading.net, click on the store tab, and shop to your heart's desire. There's caps and hoodies and T-shirts and all kinds of fun stuff in there that you can choose from, especially with the summertime here. No tank tops, unfortunately. Sorry, none of those, but lots and lots of T-shirts to choose from. Also our challenge coins. So we did create challenge coins a few years ago now with our friends in Dallas that specifically represent the American veterans, U.S. Armed Forces veterans in the railroad industry. And you'll check it out. I think you're going to think it's pretty darn cool. So check that out again at AmericanRailroading.net and click on the store tab. So here's what I was going to tell you about some of our numbers, guys. This is really, really exciting. I just ran the last year's worth of numbers. So our audio downloads are up 36% year over year from last year to now. YouTube subscriptions are up 53% and video views are up 137%. That is incredible. That is amazing growth. That's thanks to all of you. And I was thinking, what sponsor wouldn't love that kind of growth? What sponsor wouldn't love to be a part of something like that? So having said that, we are still accepting sponsorships. So we've got our platinum sponsorship. We've got a gold sponsorship available. We've got several silver sponsorships available as well. So if you're interested in being a sponsor of the American Railroading Podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach out to us today at marketing@americanrailroading.net. Again, that's marketing@americanrailroading.net. And don't miss your opportunity to get some brand awareness. That's what we call that, brand awareness. Now, this is exciting news as well. We mentioned it on our last episode. We're now launching our third, it's hard to believe, John, it's been 3 years, well, our third year of doing the Honor Our Heroes Award. So it's crazy to think that we're on our third already in season 3. Time sure flies, and we've had some great winners over the last 2 years. So it's your chance now to nominate someone that you would like to see win that Honor Our Heroes Award. It's sponsored by our friends over there, Boots for Troops in Tomball, Texas, not far away. And we're accepting nominations now through September 12th, 2025. And then we will pull the name of the winner in our September episode. So you can nominate your favorite U.S. Armed Forces veteran in the rail industry for a free Honor Our Heroes gift package. So if you're familiar with care packages at all, whether you got a care package when you were in college from your family or when you're in the military yourselves, that's what this is. It's a care package to show our veterans that we love them. So how do we do this? What are our next steps? So we want to make sure that you've got the candidate's full name and contact information, because we're going to have to call them, especially if they win, right? We need to know their branch of service, their rank, or former rank when they finish their service, their rail-related company that they work for or retired from. So again, it doesn't have to be a railroad. It just has to be related to rail. They could be a parts supplier. They could be someone that leases a fleet. As long as it's somehow related to rail, that's all that matters. And then we'd like you to write a little something that tells us why that person is a hero to you. And I love those paragraphs. Most times they make me cry. They're amazing. So please take your time and put a little something together for us when you submit that, and then submit that to info@bootsfortroops.com. Again, that's info@boots4troops.com. And the subject line for the email, please put American Railroading Podcast Honor Our Heroes nominee. Again, American Railroading Podcast Honor Our Heroes nominee. And as I said, we'll draw the winner in our September episode. So to give you guys an idea, we have somewhere near 700,000 people in transportation. Rail is a big part of that. And from the statistics I've seen, 2/3 of all employees in rail are veterans. So there should be plenty of veterans for you to nominate. Please take some time, think about who you'd like to nominate, and get those nominations in. Don't wait until September 11th or 12th to submit. Okay, so getting on to our topic for today. In recent months, everyone's been talking about tariffs and trade wars, right? And for good reason. So we've done episodes ourselves on how they can affect the economy and supply chain. Many of you have asked, how can this affect the new car market as well? So we've heard what you've had to say, and now we're interested in talking to a subject matter expert to hear what they have to say. And we've got one for you. You couldn't ask for better, in my opinion. My guest is going to give us her opinion on that and more. And my guest for today is my good friend, Kate Suprenuk. So Kate is president of Leasing and Manufacturing Union Tanker, or UTLX as we know and love them, and Procor based in Chicago, Illinois. So a little bit of background on Kate. In her nearly 9 years at UTLX, prior to becoming president of Leasing and Manufacturing, Kate held positions such as president of Railcar Leasing for North America, president of Leasing, VP of Portfolio and Services Strategy. Prior to joining UTLX, Kate spent 20 years at GE Capital Rail Services, where she met me. So that's probably the highlight of her GE career, right? She'll probably,
of course.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Where her roles included Chief Financial Officer for 6 years, and in her previous 14 years, she held various positions in finance and accounting. Originally from the East Coast, Kate holds a Bachelor of Science degree in accountancy from Villanova University. Kate lives in the Chicago area now, where she enjoys cycling, snowboarding, and outdoor adventures. Kate also loves volunteering. She is a current board member at the Railway Supply Institute, or RSI. She's also with the Booster Club board member and finance chair for William Fremd High School. I know exactly where that is. And she's also a community volunteer for the Viter House of Hospitality. Prior to that, Kate spent 10 years, and this is really exciting, as a board member for league commissioner, coach, and member of the audit committee for Palatine Community Baseball and Softball. And she spent 3 years with Arlington Heights organization as vice chairman. I want to hear more about that baseball and softball, though. I'm really curious about that. That sounds pretty neat. When she's not leading teams or out on the trails, you'll likely find her cheering on her 3 kids at volleyball matches, which also sounds wonderful. And with that, I say welcome, Kate, to the American Railroading Podcast.
Thank you very much, Don. It's great to be here.
Did I miss anything in all your wonderful accomplishments?
I think you hit the big stuff.
Good. And I have to say, I love the picture behind you. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'm guessing those are your dogs?
Those are my dogs, Charlotte and Henry.
That is amazing. Love dogs. Mine's sleeping somewhere right now, hopefully behaving herself. Foxy Cleopatra. If you know Austin Powers, you'll get that. Foxy Cleopatra. Well, congratulations on your promotion to president, by the way. President of Leasing and Manufacturing for Union Tank Car and Procor back in January of this year. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, exciting stuff. So how did your role change from when you were president of Leasing North America to president of Leasing and Manufacturing for UTLX and Procor?
Yeah, we've been on a journey evolving our organization to make it the most effective for our customers and for the industry. And the most recent change, I needed some manufacturing experience, and putting that under me was a great fit, hooking in right with the leasing side. And so, already we've seen some benefits from doing that. And that's really the origin of it, just evolving the company to make us more effective.
Very good. And I am curious about this, and I ask every guest the same question. How did you get into rail in the first place?
It was not part of a big master plan, unfortunately. But so right out of school, I was in the Philly area. I graduated from Villanova in accounting, as you mentioned, and I took a job as an auditor for KPMG. And I was there for a few years, and somebody who had worked with me as an auditor had gone out into industry and took a job at GE Capital's Transport International Pool, which was a over-the-road trailer leasing company. That individual recruited me to come over and sold me on a great opportunity, which it ended up being. And that set off my career in transportation equipment leasing. I was doing finance and accounting, kind of worked my way up the chain. We ultimately got into intermodal containers, chassis, and trailers. And then the business transitioned under GE Rail Services. And that's how I got into the rail car proper part of the business.
We go way back to the days of GE Rail. Should I say how long ago that was? That was that was a long time ago. 2002, at least, is when I started there. And I think you were already there when I got there. But we were talking the other day about how far you've come. Gosh, I mean, look where you are today. And a lot of our GE alumni have. And it's pretty neat to see where everybody's at today. So did you want to touch on that for a minute? Just kind of give a shout out to some of our friends.
For sure. It is remarkable how many ex-GE Capital Rail folks are leading some of these leasing companies and these other major companies in the industry. There's leadership at GATX, AITX, Wells Fargo, which is now, of course, going to fold into GATX. CIT, we're all over the place. So clearly there was something in the water there that bred this group of leaders for the industry. So I'm very proud to be working alongside them all and knowing where we came from.
Yeah, and a lot of us still stay in touch with, I think, is great as well. And of all the places I've worked, I said that was the one that felt the most like family. We all were really close between the softball teams and all the different things that we would do. The boat trips that Gene Henneberry would have us go out on. I miss all that stuff. And shout out to Gene. He's retired now, enjoying retired life. So, but yeah, it is really cool to see how everybody has gone on to great things. And we all see each other at these conferences. And it's quite something to be part of the alumni for sure. So what can you tell us about the history of Union Tank Car?
Yeah, so Union Tank Car goes back about 135 years, formed in 1891 under Standard Oil, John Rockefeller. They were looking for a way to move petroleum products, which had been, the technologies for drilling had been developed 30 years prior to that. So the company grew with that and eventually began to manufacture cars. In 1981, Marmon acquired Union Tank Car, and then in 2008, Berkshire Hathaway then acquired Marmon. So now we're under Marmon and Berkshire Hathaway.
Very good. And I know you're a student of history, and you're a student of tank cars. So what can you tell us about the evolution of tank cars? Because clearly they've changed over time.
Yeah, it is pretty fascinating thinking back to the first generation of those vessels to kind of where they've come. First gen wooden vessels that then became horizontal vats as they are today. They initially were upright barrels seated on a flat car. They were secured by bands. Then that moved into rivets, that then moved into welds, and the capacity has changed significantly. The first generation vessels moved about 50 gallons and now can move up to 34,000 gallons. So pretty amazing.
Yeah. And I actually have a picture of that old school original tank car somewhere, and I can get it to producer John. Maybe we can pop it up for the video version so that our viewers can check it out. It was literally a flat car, as you know, with 2 barrels on it. There was no lid. There was none of that. So if a bird came flying through or landed in your oil, oh, well, it would just filter out during the refining process. And I don't know how they kept that stuff from sloshing all over the rails, going from one place to another. But somehow they did.
Yep.
Or it ended up turning into asphalt maybe for the siding.
Yeah, I think we're doing better with leaks today than we did back then.
I sure hope so. Yeah. The NARs back then had to be ridiculous. Well, very good. And we know that Union Tank Car provides rail car manufacturing, and most of us know that. But what other services do y'all provide?
Yeah, so Union Tank Car, we have 2 groups in Marmon Rail. That's our business unit, and I support one of the groups. That group owns the portfolio of cars. We've got 25% of the cars in North America and about a third of all the leased cars. Our bread and butter is a full service operating lease. So we design the cars, build the cars, lease the cars, and repair the cars. We have an affiliate business unit also in Marmon Rail that does track installation and maintenance, mobile repairs, rail yard switching. We even do tank containers. So we try to cover all the major areas in the rail supply chain and services space to support the customer base in the industry.
Now, you're also president of a sister company, Procor, which is a Canadian company. So what can you tell us about Procor?
Procor is the Canadian part of our business, and we are really, we've operated them as separate business units in the past. Union Tank Car supporting the United States and Mexico, and Procor supporting Canada, but we're pulling that together. And that's part of one of the big things on my plate is to harmonize those businesses to create the best and most seamless experience for our customers.
Yeah, and I can see how that could happen as well, because you do have Procor cars rolling through the United States and vice versa. So, yeah, absolutely. So I used to work with Transco Railway Products years ago, and my friend Bob Nelson and everybody over there, and I know they're part of Marmon now. So are you overseeing Transco as well?
No, I'm not. So we, in connection with the org changes that we made this year and that harmonization that I just spoke about, the other big thing that we're doing is really trying to clean up our shop networks so that we have a network that's dedicated to our full service leasing cars. That's under my business unit. And then Bob and Transco supports really third parties. And that way we can be more nimble supporting, the cars that we built, our procedures, our customer base, and they can be more effective with the third party work. We do have a little bit of crossover from time to time, but generally speaking, we're trying to clean up those networks. And so that is not under me.
And that makes total sense. And it sounds very efficient to do it that way. And like you say, that your shops then have the expertise for your cars, and it makes total sense to me. And I'm sure the customers appreciate that as well. Now, you mentioned the parent company for UTLX, Procor, Transco, everybody, is Marmon Holdings Incorporated, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company, as you said. It's compromised. It is not compromised. It's comprised of 11 industry groups. And this blew my mind. Over 30,000 team members. That's huge. And this
that's worldwide.
Yeah. And there's 6,000 team members in rail alone, which I think is incredible. And of the 11 groups, they are medical, water, food service technologies, retail solutions, electrical, plumbing and refrigeration, metal services, crane services, industrial products, transportation products, and rail. So it's kind of a lot of really cool stuff that we don't have time to get into all of those aspects of it, but I will do a little research online about it now that I'm curious. And the company tagline is doing things that matter, which I think is great. So what more can you tell us about Marmon itself? It kind of the structure reminds me of GE a little bit.
Yeah, Marmon's the best of both worlds from my perspective. The way they run the way they run the play. There is centralization and support where it's needed and where it doesn't make sense for all the individual business units to kind of invent things themselves. But they leave the businesses alone, and let the businesses do what they do best and run their businesses. So the oversight is there, and it's sensible.
Yeah. Well, and it sure sounds like it. So a little bit of fun history, a little bit of trivia about Marmon, and I did not know anything about this. Have you heard of the Marmon Wasp before?
Have I heard of it?
Yeah.
Of course I have.
Okay, so let me tell the story then, real quick, for everybody else that hasn't heard. This is really neat because I'm a huge fan of the Indy 500, huge fan of racing in general. And in 1911, the Marmon Motor Company, which I didn't even know existed, built a race car called the Marmon Wasp that won the inaugural Indy 500, not by speed, but by engineering. This is so cool. So the Marmon engineers determined that blown tires were a costly waste of time due to having to make more and longer pit stops. So therefore, they decided to slow the pace so that it would take longer for the tires to wear. And as a result, they would have to make less pit stops and change less tires. And it worked. So they won the race, only having to make 4 pit stops, changing 0 tires. And the second place car had to change 14 tires in the same time. I think that's incredible. So it was a really neat story that I stumbled across while doing research for the episode today. And it looks like the Marmon Wasp is kind of a staple for the company, right?
Yeah, we're actually kind of doing a road show, if you will, this year. And we've been, the Wasp has shown up at various industry events, which has been pretty cool, including the interchange down in Indy last month. Wow.
Yeah, because I saw that the engineers actually recreated it. They actually built one.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the one that we're touring around.
That is cool. And I imagine it can drive just probably as good as the original, which I would love to see. So I'll have to check and see where it's going to be next. Okay. So some other rail related companies owned by Marmon Holdings that our audience may recognize. And I did not know these were all Marmon companies, actually. So Transco, we talked about, my friends over there, railcar and tank car repairs and modifications. Trackmobile, I did not realize that. So Trackmobile has been around forever, manufacturing and leasing of railcar moving equipment. McKenzie Valve, valve and tank car component manufacturing. RailServe to provide online or on-site switching, material handling and track maintenance. And then Ameritrack, which is a routing of track inspection, construction, maintenance, and repair. So yeah, I mean, all these businesses, all rail related, all very exciting. I didn't know if you wanted to touch on any of those folks also in the rail space.
Yeah, our motto is from rail cars to rail yards. We really try to hit it all and cover it all for our customers.
Absolutely. And you certainly do. So, hey, I want to take just a moment and recognize our gold sponsor, EnviroServe. EnviroServe is America's premier provider of comprehensive, reliable, effective, and eco-friendly environmental solutions for the rail industry. Their rail services include mobile railcar cleaning, flaring, interior blasting and transloading, removal and replacement of tank car service equipment, and leak testing. Complete HAZ and non-HAZ waste handling, management, remediation, and disposal services, 24/7 emergency spill response, and more. To learn more, please visit their website at www.enviroserve.com. Now, in addition to providing freight and tank car maintenance and repair, Union Tank Car is also an industry-leading railcar design and manufacturing company. And there's been a lot of conversation this year, including on our podcast, around tariffs and trade wars, how they affect the economy, supply chain, et cetera. And one could imagine that they would also impact new car builds as well. And a lot of our audience seems to think so. And I've also heard this at several conferences, people chatting about how it could impact new car. So in what ways can tariffs and trade wars affect the new car market? I imagine pricing could fluctuate tremendously.
Yeah, so I'd say twofold. Cost for the cars, pricing, as you mentioned, and also uncertainty. The tariff situation has been ever changing, and it's been hard to kind of nail it down and anticipate, is this where it's going to stay, or are there going to be more changes coming? So it's created, we believe, some hesitation out there on placing new car orders.
Yeah, and I've heard that as well. And what are some examples of the types of tariffs that can impact the new car market?
Yeah, so in theory, tariffs could come in a couple ways. One could be on the car itself. If a tank car built outside of the U.S. was imported into the U.S., There are cars built in Mexico. We happen to build in Louisiana in the United States, but some others build in Mexico. And my understanding is that those are covered under USMCA and not subject to a tariff on the cars. The other main way could be with the steel, the actual material, if that is coming from a foreign country. And while we are not seeing, we source all of our steel from the United States, and we understand that most of even the Mexico builders do as well. To the extent that someone's sourcing from the United States, there's not a direct tariff, of course. But what's happened is the U.S. steel producers have been increasing prices this year, and one of the indices that we look at is the plate steel index, which has gone up 35% year to date, likely due in part to those tariff policy.
Yeah, and I think years ago there was a company that was building with Chinese steel, but they're no longer in business, if I remember correctly. So I do remember that, and I remember Congress having issue with it as well back in the day. So what is your opinion on the current state of the new car market? How is it looking? Is it up? Is it down? Is it static? What do you think?
Yeah, so things in the new car market for tank cars had begun to slow actually at the end of last year. I think growth has been modest in the economy, which has a direct correlation. About half the things that move in tank cars are chemicals, which has a very direct correlation to the general economy, as do the other things that move in tank cars. But I think the tariff situation and further economic softening and maybe some downgrades of forecasts have created more hesitation on car ordering. So we're seeing inquiries down, orders down, backlogs have been declining. So it is definitely appears to have an effect on the volumes in the manufacturing space.
Now, are we seeing any markets that are maybe going to change some of that? I don't know. Like, obviously, there's a lot going on in the Middle East right now. Oil prices are up. I don't know if that would help or hurt, oil production, which may increase the need for tank cars?
Yes, it could. So we're going to have to wait and see on that for sure. I don't see a certain commodity anomaly emerging anytime soon that's going to be a major driver. We're really at replacement right now. We're building for replacement.
So in your opinion, do you anticipate any major changes at all in the new car market over the next 12 months that could influence things?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. There's a lot of things in play on the new car side. So we talked about tariffs and steel prices. Interest rates are also a factor. The higher the interest rates, the more expensive it is to invest in a rail car. So as interest rates remain elevated, that's also having an effect on things. So to the extent interest rates relax, there's cuts. To the extent that steel prices turn down, which they will eventually, it's just a matter of when. And to the extent that the general economy holds, doesn't further soften or even improves, that could help propel the new tank car building opportunities.
And I'm glad you brought that up about the financing, because people don't think about that. So when you're buying new cars, it's not like you're paying cash for them.
Correct.
So interest rates matter. And yeah, you're probably right with that. I'm sure people are waiting a little bit to see if we're going to get a cut, which we recently just passed the threshold and didn't get a cut. Right. So the next one, you'll know better than me when the next one might be coming, but I know that they're talking about 2 this year, potentially.
Potentially. So that, and like I said, that could have an effect on things. So, and loosen things up.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could pay cash for 100 tank cars, but I'm sure somebody can, not me. Not me. And, it will be interesting to see as oil prices increase and as they have been here in the last few weeks, what effect that will have. I know they're opening up some more drilling permits. We'll see if we can have more effect there as well. And I know there's also different types of fuel that people are looking at, whether it's using soybeans, for fuel and different things like that. Maybe there's different ways we can see. I don't think we'll ever see another boom like we did years ago. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But gosh, that was really something back when we had the Bakken oil boom and things went a little crazy.
Indeed.
So we can hope. We can always hope. Any insight you'd like to share regarding your opinion on the current pulse of the leasing market? How's our utilization looking? The
leasing market is strong. It's been strong for the past couple of years. things had tightened up. Lease rates on renewals and assigned cars have really increased and are at an all-time high level. I feel like it's probably a new norm, a new level. And so as the expiring cars are rolling off, we're getting a lift on the top line because of that, and that's really helping preserve margins. Maintenance costs have been climbing, a lot of regulatory burden that the lessors have to deal with, and it's been helpful to preserve those margins. Utilization you asked about. In the case of our business, our utilization is still strong. It's softened a little bit in the past year, but it's still very strong, and we see some of the publicly reported data by some of the big competitors, and that seems to be the case across the board, across their general fleet. So I believe things remain healthy right now, maybe a little softening, but as I mentioned, if the new car situation remains, with low volumes, that all things equal, that could bolster the existing fleet demand.
I actually had someone ask me, because you mentioned a couple of times about aging out. Cars are starting to get to the point where they're having to be scrapped because they have 50 years worth of life, right? And someone asked me recently if they thought that they could extend the life of a tank car. Remember we did that with, was it box cars years ago, where they basically changed out the truck sets and some other things and said, you're good for another 10 years or whatever it was. I forget now. But you think anything like that's going to happen if people are too nervous about buying new cars or can't afford to? Do you think they may petition the AAR to extend the life of the cars they have?
I do not. I think that's a bridge too far for tank cars. I don't see it happening. Anything's possible, I suppose, that somebody might attempt that. Yeah, but no, I don't see that.
Yeah, it would sure take a lot to get it passed in the first place.
Yeah.
And then the cost probably would be equivalent to replacing it anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. The maintenance cost gets to be pretty high towards the end of the life of the asset as well. So it may not be economic, to your point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I was thinking about this as you were talking as well. Just repairing cars these days is probably getting costly for the car owners. I'm assuming as costs are going up, labor's going up, because the shops are getting more costly to run. Well, because you have shops as well. So, paint's probably more expensive. Lining materials probably more expensive. Valves are probably more expensive. Electricity to run the shop, and the acetylene and all that to run the torches. I mean, it all adds up, and it all continues to increase the burden rate, as I would always call it, at the shop level. So yeah, I can see people wanting to make cars last longer, but to your point, I don't know that it's worth it. But something that is worth it, and I know this is very important to you, and is really is something that we shine a light on as well throughout the podcast with some of our guests, including the League of Railway Women that we had on, I believe it was last year, is we want to talk about emerging women in rail. And back in December of last year, I believe it was, team members from both UTLX and Procor attended the 2024 Women in Rail Conference in Chicago, hosted by the Railway Age and Railway Track and Structures. So what were some of your takeaways from the conference?
Just really the community of females in the industry and how it's grown is just amazing and heartwarming. And to see the up and comers there, looking around and seeing women leaders out there in this space it's amazing.
Yeah, and I remember when I started in the industry a long time ago, before you did, actually, not many years before, but a couple of years before, there weren't many women in leadership. There really weren't. And when I first saw it was when I went to GE. And we had we had Corinne Gray, we had Bridget Lobstein, we had Charlene Tsai, we had other ladies Parita Patel. Parita was a boss of mine for a while. And then we had other ladies that just took me under their wing totally when I came on board, like Nancy Switek and Shirley Justice and Blondie Samuels. Blondie, if you remember Blondie, was amazing. And there was a project that I inherited that took me a year and a half to clean up. And she, at the end of it all, she bought me an easy button. It was the funniest thing. I show up to my cubicle one day and there's an easy button on there with a donut because she knew I like jelly donuts. It's a long story, but I just love jelly donuts. So, and there was an easy button and she smiled and she pushes the button. She goes, "Wasn't that easy, baby?" I'm like, "No, Blondie, it took me a year and a half. It was not easy at all." But God bless her and everyone that looked out for me when I first came to GE Rail. But it was really neat to see that. I think GE was one of the first companies to really kind of push the initiative. And in your opinion, Who are some of the top emerging women in rail today?
I would say just looking around at the major roads and these major leasing and manufacturing companies, what we have in the profile today versus even 5 years ago is amazing. So in the past 5 years, Tracy Robinson at CN, Katie Farmer at BN, Lori Tacorius at Greenbrier, Gene Savage at Trinity. That was not the case 5 years ago. It was a male, it continued to be male dominated and male led. So it's really the whole profile is changing. And then that's trickling down as some of the up and comers look up and see this leadership emerging. And
what do you like most about the railcar leasing and manufacturing industry as it is today?
I would say the community is the best thing. There's many good things. And I think the community rallies around the nobility of the purpose. We affect quality of life in so many huge ways in what we do to get these assets out and moving things that everybody needs. And we all rally around that. And just the interaction within our companies, with other businesses, trying to collaborate, it's wonderful.
I agree. And I've always said it's like one big family. Even though it's a large industry, it's small in the amount of decision makers and people that are really in it. When I went through a transition, a company was doing layoffs that I was involved with, it was amazing to me how competitors reached out to me and said, hey, how can we help? Give me your resume. And that's just how it is. We're competitors, but we're not at each other's throats. We're out to benefit the industry as a whole. And we're all in this together. And it's amazing, even when you go to the conferences. People change companies all the time. You'll see them at this company, then that company. And it's just one big happy family for the most part. And I really love that about it. So what suggestions would you have to give someone just starting out or wanting to enter the railcar leasing and manufacturing industry?
Yeah, I would say to be boundaryless, whether or not that is with other departments in your company, with other business units in your company, with other companies in the industry. Certainly competition creates good things, but I think the industry thrives when we work together and collaborate. And we take down the boundaries and work together to make things, to improve things and seize opportunities. And not only is it good for the industry, but it's so fulfilling to do things on a team and to work with others. That's what I would say.
I agree. And we're big here at the American Railroading Podcast on recognizing our U.S. Armed Forces veterans. We talked about that earlier. Do you all have a program that recognizes our veterans or works with veterans?
Yes, we do. We have a program under Marmon, MVets, and we launched it about a couple of years ago. And we provide programming, networking, community for our veterans, and it's a very successful program.
Very good. And how can people learn more about that program?
They can go to the Marmon website and search under MVets, and they will find information.
Very good. And we'll include that link on the podcast as well, so people can find it.
Oh.
So if you had to pick one thing that you'd like our audience to take away from our episode today, what would it be?
This is such a cool industry, and we need to continue to recruit, attract, retain folks in this space. I do think once they get in, they don't leave, but I would say it's a very dynamic industry. It's important what we do. There are a lot of things affecting our space, and the folks in the industry continue to collaborate, innovate, make rail transportation as safe as possible. And we love what we do. And I speak for others in the industry in saying that we love what we do. It's really fantastic.
Yeah. And when people join, they're here for life. And it's not like in the Hotel California kind of way either. It's totally different. They stay because they want to. And you see that all the time. I mean, how many shops do you walk into and there's a 40-year employee welding, or a leasing company? We mentioned some of the names earlier, Sabrine Muhammad at GE and others, that were there for 30 plus years. And that says a lot about the industry, I think. And it's a lot of love out there for what we do. And yeah, I love it. So what's your favorite part about what you do as president of leasing and manufacturing at UTLX and Procor?
It's the collaborative problem solving. And working opportunities. I really enjoy working with my colleagues in my business, with my peers and other business in other companies, coming together to try to figure things out. It's very rewarding. The types of challenges that we have and opportunities are really interesting, but to be able to work on them with others is very rewarding for me.
What else would you like to share?
Yeah, so we talked about tariffs and the economic conditions and the supply and demand dynamics and the existing portfolio of cars out in North America. And unless there's a major commodity anomaly, which we don't see happening, the industry will revert to equilibrium. We will get the cars that, we will find a way to get the cars out to the shippers. Things will normalize, and we shouldn't have any major gaps either way. The industry is very resilient.
It sure is. It's been around for 236 years or something. It's not going anywhere. Well, believe it or not, our time is almost up for today, and time sure flies when you're having fun. So where can people reach out to Union Tank Car Procor to learn more about what y'all do?
Yeah, the website's the best way to go. We have UTLX and Procor websites, Marmon Rail about our broader rail business, and then, of course, Marmon.
Very good. And we will include all those links on our podcast as well. So when the show notes, people can find you as well. So we'll make it really easy for them. Anything else before we leave that you'd like to throw out there for anyone listening? Any of the young ladies maybe that want to join the industry or are new to the industry? Any recommendations you have for them?
You're welcome in our industry and our business, and I encourage you to help define and redefine what leadership looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you like to join us again on a future episode?
We'd love to. We
would love to have you back. Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. And I will be in Chicago for the Midwest Association of Rail Shippers. Well, I guess it's in Lake Geneva, but I'll be going through Chicago with some visiting family, and also maybe I'll get a chance to come by and visit y'all over at Union Tank Car, and would love to do that. And until then, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Don. I really had a great time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And before you go, I'm just going to go over my 2 cents. So we may never see the huge surge in the new car market we once did during the bulk and oil boom of 2013 to 2015. That was a crazy time. Lots of new cars being built. But if there's one thing we've learned about success in our industry, it's about proper balance and the ability to adapt and change markets with the markets as well. The new car market is vital in helping our industry to keep proper balance in the nation's fleet as the older cars begin to age out, as we talked earlier today in our episode, and as safety standards continue to change and to improve, and as the new markets emerge, which hopefully we'll see more of them as well. History shows that our industry is cyclical. So who knows? Maybe we'll see another new car boom like that again. Maybe. Hopefully. That would be amazing. Hopefully. Yeah, for sure. And that's my 2 cents. So I know I promised y'all a FEMSA update regarding HM265. And as I mentioned during our last episode, Eamon Patrick, our FEMSA contact, who was courteous enough to join us for our episode with him last year, has moved on to new adventures. So I did email the person that took over his responsibilities. I'm waiting to hear back. So hopefully I'll have an answer for you for our next episode on where we stand with HM265 and perhaps other FEMSA items as well. Going back to what we talked about in the beginning of our podcast, our 3rd annual Honor Heroes Award nominations are now open. So go ahead and submit those as soon as you can. We do have until September 12th for our deadline 2025, but please do not wait until the last minute. We're sponsored once again by our friends here at Boots for Troops in Tomball, Texas, and it is an amazing care package. I actually get to pack it myself. I am very thrilled to do that. I get to go in and they have this room set up with all these goodies and all these little cubby holes, and I get to go and I get to pack it just for you, and you get to personalize it. So if you win, if you're a winner and you're watching or listening and you win, you can actually send us a list of the stuff that you like, your favorite sports teams, your favorite college sports teams, your favorite branch of the military, which is likely the one you served in. Maybe not. Who knows? Anything you like, whether it's a favorite candy. I remember I've adopted people, every year for my birthday and sent care packages all over the world. And it's things like Swedish Fish. One young lady wanted Swedish Fish because it reminded her of home. And another gentleman was a White Sox fan, which I didn't hold it against him, whatever, you're a White Sox fan, nobody's perfect. We sent all that gear over to him as well, hats and stuff. So it's personalized to each person as they win. So nominate your favorite U.S. Armed Forces veteran in the rail industry for a free, it doesn't cost you a dime, doesn't cost them a dime, Honor Our Heroes gift package. And so here's what the next steps should be for you. And again, we have 700,000 people in transportation. There's 2/3 of them said to be veterans. There's more than enough folks for you to nominate, right? So we need the candidate's full name and contact information because we will have to reach out to them, especially when they win, what branch of service they served in, what their rank was or is. Maybe they're still in the reserves or something. The rail-related company they work for or retired from. So again, it does not have to be a railroad. It can be a rail-related company. And then what makes them a hero to you. So put together a little paragraph, and I love reading those paragraphs. So please make it as detailed as you would like about the reasons why you love this person, why they are a hero to you, over and above just the fact that they're a veteran. And I love reading them. So please submit those as soon as you can. I expect to see lots of them coming through, and you can email them to info@boots4troops.com. Again, info@boots4troops.com. And in the subject line, put American Railroading Podcast, honor our heroes nominee. And then we'll draw the winner in our September episode. And we may have a special guest drawing that for us this year. We'll see. I'm working on that. I'm not going to tell you who it is, though, but it's somebody many of you will recognize. It's not me, somebody else. It's not John. It could be Producer John. You'd recognize him. And Producer John, if you want to just click on your microphone there, I just wanted to say we're getting awfully close to our 30th episode.
We are.
What a milestone that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do for that? Something special.
Do something special, right?
I think we should. Maybe we'll let Producer John bust out his ZZ Top Gear and crank out a few tunes for us.
Well, that'd be fun.
I think it would be. You can do it. And I want to take a moment to recognize again our anchor sponsor, the Revolution Rail Group. So again, we are a consulting and brokering firm in the rail car industry. So if you're doing any kind of consulting, even something I haven't thought of yet, feel free to reach out to us today. Also, we can help you with brokering services, buying, selling, leasing, and subleasing of rail cars. You can catch up with us at 844-455-3434 or info@therevolutionrailgroup.com. You can also check out our full suite of services on our website at therevolutionrailgroup.com. Now, I will be at the Midwest Association of Rail Shippers Conference coming up here. I think it's July 8th and 9th. I believe it's that week, right after the 4th of July. So you will see my happy, smiling face while I'm there. Feel free to come up to me, talk to me about the podcast, talk to me about Revolution Rail Group. We are, again, taking sponsorships for the podcast. Would love to talk to you about that and ways that we can benefit you in getting your brand recognition out there. So feel free to catch up with me at Mars in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. If you aren't registered, get registered as soon as you can. We'll see you there. With that, I say God bless, make it a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on the American Railroading Podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. And if you have a topic you'd like us to cover on a future episode or want to support or sponsor the show, please visit our website at AmericanRailroading.net. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on the American Railroading Podcast.